Welcome to my channel. This is Duke here, and today I shall explain everything about the supposed shadow aliens that were in Miami on January 1st. Now, this is going to get a little theoretical, and I do have a background in theoretical design, and I have a lot of prior theories, but this actually brings everything together, and it actually kind of verifies my theories. Now, just to get into it, I will play
rumors
a lot of
of
people
aliens
that
invading Miami are going viral
are
on
aware.
social
This
media.
is the
Surreal,
news
folks. The conspiracy theory stems from a large
article.
police presence at Bayside Marketplace on New Year's Day.
Take a good look at your screen. Are those aliens walking in front of Bayside
And
Marketplace
do you know,
in downtown Miami? Online conspiracy theorists are saying that shadowy figure, not far from parked Miami police cars, appears to be an alien.
Honestly, I think it looks pretty real to me. Alien look pretty chill.
I'd be friends with an alien. I think it'd be pretty cool.
now
The viral video
they
was
weren't, in
allegedly
my
taken during
opinion,
that massive police presence
and I'm
at
going to back
Bayside
this
on
up
New
with
Year's
my
Day.
theories.
Crowds of young people armed with
They
sticks
actually
began
were
fighting.
aliens,
Police say juveniles
but
were also
they were in
setting
a
off
different
fireworks
dimensional
that some
state,
believed was
and I'm going to
gunfire,
explain how they
resulting
get
in
into that
chaos.
state and
There's
how
a
they ended up in
crowd of people
Miami,
running
and they
out
shouldn't
of
have been in
Bayside
Miami.
and kind of grouping up outside. And then we hear more commotion, and now they're all just running through the streets, running between cars, almost getting hit by cars. It was like absolute chaos.
Now,
Let's-
rumors are circulating on social media saying police weren't there to handle a group of rowdy teens, but rather 8 to 10 feet tall shadow aliens.
But the real question is, are they friendly? Are they after us? Are they gonna attack us? Are they gonna do world domination on us? Who knows, man?
They
Places
actually
Miami Mall and aliens in Miami have
frequently
been among the
visit
top
Earth,
10 searches on
and they had
Twitter's
been for some
trending
time.
tab. And Google
They
News
just
even has
accidentally,
several
I'm not sure if it was
reports questioning the
intentional,
event. Miami
on
police
someone
saying in part, there were no
inside the
aliens,
receptor
UFOs or ETs.
location,
No airports were closed.
or
no
there was some
power
sort of
outages.
magnetic
Statement
shift
ended
in
with
the
facepalm
Earth's
emoji.
coordinates
Now, to
that
read up on the
flipped
story,
them
and a lot
somehow
of
with
people
the
are interested in the story because
with the
it's gone viral.
technology
Check it out for
system that
yourself. Go to our
receives
website,
them and transfers them. And I'm going to explain
cbsmiami.com, and the police
how
are
that
very
actually
emphatic.
works.
There were no aliens.
Yeah, no aliens, but you can file this one.
So let's go into some background of what my theory is and what this is all about and how they ended up in Miami. Now, my theory is based on, this is long before this happened. And there's a lot of speculation that in Antarctica, there's alien bases and stuff. And I've had a lot of suspicions that there could be underground bases and possibly Stargates. And this is how they would actually transfer life from Earth to other planets across the universe, and vice versa, from other planets to Earth, through theoretical, what you would call a Stargate. Now, a lot of people, there's been Stargate movies, and a lot of that is kind of the basis for a lot of my theories. I do believe, and I do have some electromagnetic designs for anti-gravity systems, magnetic propulsion systems, and Stargate systems are based on the same concept. It's actually a circular, actually CERN is very similar. The CERN collider system, it's all based on magnetics. Whereas a Stargate, my design of a Stargate would be magnetic, zero friction, zero in a vacuum tube. And it would be essentially a rotating disc of magnets. And what happens is when you have these rotating discs with zero friction in a vacuum, in a circular motion, it essentially there's no resistance. So in theory, that field could generate velocities, infinite velocities, even faster than the speed of light. So when they say, how do aliens get to Earth, or how would you get to Earth to another across the universe, they'd say it takes so many light years, and even if you could travel at the speed of light, you couldn't survive that. And physically, you wouldn't be able to survive that. Your physical body. However, if you could change the state of your physical body to another dimension, but how would you do that? Well, this is my theory. What happens is Stargate generates a electromagnetic field at infinite velocity. And what happens is when you walk through that infinite velocity Stargate, there's a transformation that occurs. Your physical body, which is essentially just all electrons and atoms, it changes from a physical state to a extreme vibrational state because of the infinite magnetic field, essentially, that's inside that Stargate. So when you walk through it, it transforms your entire physical state while retaining your DNA and your everything. And this all happens in an instant. So you actually would technically walk through that Stargate, and that Stargate would be pointed at another Stargate across the universe or another planet. And what happens is it puts you, when you walk through it, it'll pulse you through because it's pointed at the other Stargate across the universe. And in literally an instant, you would reach the other Stargate. And there's zero resistance. It doesn't matter if you're not going to have to worry about running into another planet or objects or anything else, because when you walk through that Stargate, your physical being transforms into another dimension. Similarly to how water would transform to ice or steam, and then back again. It would transform from steam back to water, and then go from water to ice. Ice can go back to water. Similarly, walking through a Stargate, your physical body or any object that you're carrying would transform into another dimension. It's pointed at another Stargate, and then when you go through the other Stargate in an instant, you're retransformed back into a physical state, like in the reverse of walking through that Stargate. But it'd be just literally in an instant. So when you'd walk through the Stargate, you would just come out the other side, wherever that is, whatever planet's on. Now, I suspect you can see here Antarctica. This coordinate system, this is Antarctic ice shield in Antarctica, and it's you can see the coordinates. I believe it's underground, actually, where the Stargate would be located, and it would be and that's why you cannot go to Antarctica. You can't go anywhere near there. And the reason it's located in Antarctica, because as the Earth rotates in a counterclockwise fashion, a Stargate positioned on the bottom of the Earth can actually can receive or send in viewpoints of trajectory to any location in the universe. Whereas if it was in the center of the Earth, it'd be a little more difficult because it would actually be covered by the Earth. Whereas at the bottom of the Earth, it's visible at all times, and it rotates around. Now, what happens is, so the Stargate would be, you'd enter in a coordinate system of the location of the Stargate. This my theory of where it's located is you can see here it's 80 degrees 21 51. You can actually transform that to GPS coordinates too, but it's southeast, and you can see where it is on the particular map. What happens is that coordinate of the location of the Stargate would from another alien planet. So the aliens that actually came here to Miami, there was different forms of aliens because they could be coming from different planets. You could have one alien coming from one system, another from another from another, and they probably come all the time. And they can come and go whenever they want. Really, they just walk through the Stargate and they're in Antarctica. And same thing, you can, if it pointed at another one. So everyone, you could have like 10 planets in other locations all pointing at this one, and all theoretically they could walk through all at the same time. Whereas when you're going from this Stargate to another planet, it has to be directed at a coordinates of the other planet. So you're not going to you're just going to have go to one location. Whereas you could have multiple planets coming to a single location here on Earth. They'd all just point at the same time and it'll walk through. And that explains why there's multiple alien forms. But they actually were in that dimensional state, which essentially is very similar to a ghost. Now, the only reason they were visible is because they're going, when you're going through a Stargate and traveling, when you reach the planet, it actually, you slow down, the speed actually slows down to go through the other Stargate instantaneously. But what happens is they didn't go to Antarctica. They went to Miami, and there was no Stargate. The Stargate's in Antarctica, so they didn't actually come back into a physical form because they didn't reach the Stargate. So they have to get from Miami, and if they went from Miami to the Stargate and went through it, their energy dimensional form, then they would come out as a physical being, as the exact same way that you would have visually seen them in Miami, but then they would come back in a physical body, just like they walk through a doorway. So what happened, my theory is, either there was some sort of magnetic shift in the planet that changed the coordinates and reversed them. So it went from 80 degrees south and 25 degrees east, and you can see specifically, and reversing those ones brings you to, I'm going to show you, reverse those coordinates of that theoretical Stargate base in Antarctica, and it actually does not come to where they were located in, it was actually different. It was the market, or the Bayside Marketplace. But the location is actually at a different mall. If you reverse the coordinates, it actually goes to the Miami International Mall. And you might think, well, why were they at the other location? Well, I'm going to explain that. What would have happened is, so the other beings, they're coming to this Stargate, and somehow the location of the Stargate in Antarctica was emitting, the coordinates were flipped or changed to 25 degrees north and 80 degrees west. So the actual Stargates from the alien planets sent them to, were trying to send them to the, rather than the Antarctica, send them to the Miami International Mall, because the coordinates were flipped. Now, the reason they ended up at the Bayside is because the Earth is rotating from counterclockwise, or it's actually, yeah, but anyways, it's the angle of the axis. So when they be coming from the other planet, they're trying to come in essentially from the east and coming down to hit the Stargate on the bottom of the Earth. But when they ended up coming, they're trying to hit here. Now, there's also an elevation amount. So when they come to the planet, The Stargate, I believe, in Antarctica is underground. I'm not sure exactly how far, if it could be a kilometer, 2 kilometers, could be 10 kilometers. The distance between the coordinates where they were sent to at the International Mall and where they ended up at the Bayside, I'm going to show the distance. It's right here. You can see that's where they were spotted, and you can see the International Mall over here, and it's actually almost at a perfect axis angle of the rotation of Earth. They would have been pointed to come in from this direction to hit through the Stargate in Antarctica, but they went to the wrong coordinates. And when their dimensional entities came in, they would actually be attempting to go to these coordinates at the Miami International Mall, but go underground, because that's where the Stargate would be located, below the surface of the Earth. So that would explain on how they ended up here, because there's no way they can get below ground there, and it's timed out so the rotation of the Earth, they would have hit there if there was actually an underground Stargate there. But because there isn't there, they ended up hitting their dimensional beings ended up hitting the surface of the Earth. And when it's I believe when they go through a Stargate, there's an automated mechanism where they're prevented from reanimating into a physical form inside any Earth. So they're not going to, you don't want them coming back, in the middle of a mountain or underground in the actual dirt. So what it does is their entities actually stopped there, short of going underground, because there was no underground Stargate. So that explains coming in at the angle of the rotation of the Earth, because that's the way that the Stargate on the bottom of in Antarctica would have been rotating when it would be receiving them. Because they would be pointing at the other planet, any planet that's coming from. So when they're sending them, they're actually sending them to come in the backside of the Stargate, which is at the angle of the axis on the bottom of the Earth. So, because they had the wrong coordinates, they came there, and because there wasn't underground, the dimensional beings automatically detected, and they essentially stop, and they can still get to the Stargate. So what they would be doing is, when they came in here, when they would have realized that, hey, they're not in their physical form, and they would have essentially been alien ghosts, if that makes any sense, because they would have, and you got to remember, this would happen in a split second. So they'd realize they're in a ghost form, they're not in their physical form, they can actually see around. So the only way they can get to their physical form is they got to get through the Stargate, but their Stargate isn't there because the wrong coordinates of the Stargate were somehow inputted on the Stargate in Antarctica, or there was some sort of magnetic shift in the magnetism of the Earth, which flipped the coordinates to be reversed from where they were intended to go to the Stargate. So they ended up here, and they're walking around because they realize they don't know where they are. They just know that they're walking around actually looking for the Stargate. And I believe that the Antarctica Stargate base, they would have realized, obviously, that these beings were on their way, but they never came through the Stargate. So instantly, that's where the police would have gone, and the Men in Black supposedly probably went there to they probably have some sort of technology where they can either reverse the Stargate process and basically send them back to the original Stargate, which I think is probably what happened. I'm not sure what kind of technology they would have been using, or they would have either communicated with those entities and given them the proper coordinates, and then those entities would have just traveled themselves through the air, because they're not a physical form, they're in a dimensional form, to the actual proper coordinates of the Stargate, gone through the Stargate in Antarctica and to their physical form. Or who knows, there could have been, some other technology. But that's essentially what the explanation is. And you can see, and they explain why they didn't end up at Miami International Mall. They ended up here because that's technically was on the trajectory to go to the Stargate, which wasn't there, but they thought it was according to the coordinates that were flipped. And we can go to, there's actually the Google Earth. That's actually where the Miami Mall coordinates, but flipped, would be there in Antarctica. Now it'd be rotating around as the Earth rotates, but on the bottom of the Earth, that's how they can actually send and receive through the Stargate. So if that makes any sense, that essentially everyone, when they said that they were seeing these alien beings and they were glitching, it was essentially they were in a ghost form of after their dimensional travel, which essentially is like a wormhole, is what a Stargate would be. There's Stargates, and I suspect there's Stargates on every planet throughout the universe. And usually if they'd be at the southern pole or the north pole. I believe it'd be southern pole. And it's more just so that as they rotate on their axis, their various planets, it's more visible as a trajectory to send to other coordinates of whatever planet. So in theory, you could send anyone from Earth, or these aliens could just plot in the coordinates in the Stargate here on Earth, walk through it, and they're back at their home planet, literally in a second. Because the speed of dimensional travel, there's no limitations. Like light is its speed of light is still a physical form of speed. Dimensional travel is very similar to the speed of thought, and that's how when aliens communicate through thought, it's instantaneous. And there's a lot of theories, and I do believe in some of them, that the power of thought, if you can project your thought patterns across the planet or across the universe, that thought can instantaneously be sent or received. Now, a lot of humans, I don't think, have a developed ability to send or receive thoughts, but there's a lot of speculation that when a lot of inventors like Tesla and a lot of other very high IQ, super smart inventors, when they come up with a lot of these theoretical advanced concepts, a lot of them will say it just came to them in a dream. And that's where when humans sleep, your mind and your energy of your soul essentially is going into that other dimension where, in theory, you can receive technology from a radio class universe, from another planet, but you got to be able to have the ability to receive it. Not everyone would have the ability to receive it. And I've done some experimentations where I'll use a power of thought to thinking about communication with animals or other people, and I've actually got animals or other people to do things that I've thought, and they wouldn't have actually understood, but it would be more of a intuition. And when you feel an intuition, a lot of it could be a thought that is coming into your mind. but it's very similar to how this dimensional Stargate travel actually happens. So I've covered a lot of points, but that is my theory, and it does make complete sense that it was essentially Stargate travel, multiple aliens from different planets, and they were somehow the coordinates of the Stargate in Antarctica got flipped, so their Stargates and other planets sent them to the Miami International Mall location, but they're looking to go underground, and that's how they ended up stopping in the Bayside Mall rather than getting to the Miami International Mall, because they were trying to go underground in Antarctica, and instead they stopped at the surface in Miami, realized that, hey, we're not at the, there's no Stargate here, and we're in a dimensional form, and the Men in Black would have attended the scene. Somehow they would have communicated with those alien entities, and which in their physical form, they probably are 10 feet tall. But they were in their dimensional form, which essentially is like a ghost. They would have, I imagine, because there was reports that they were looking around, so they probably were aware that they hadn't gone through the Stargate or something had happened, and they're not going to, you can't hurt them because they're not in a physical form. So anyone, if they tried to shoot them or do whatever, nothing would have happened. And this, incidentally, this is the same kind of theories of when you have a dimensional, or not dimensional, when you have a spacecraft, like say a 1 mile long craft in the sky. Now they would cloak themselves, but how would they get to Earth? They don't actually physically fly through space. They would actually probably have like Stargate systems, like that electromagnetic field that's produced by them that actually allows the dimensional travel per se, would be at the rear of these craft, and it would do the similar thing, but it wouldn't be going through like a wormhole from Stargate to Stargate. It would actually theoretically have a Stargate on the rear of their craft, and they would just they'd put in the coordinates into the Earth's atmosphere, because they don't want to go and then because when they travel from across the universe, they're going through dimensional travel. So the Stargate on the electromagnetic ring on the rear of their craft would transfer that craft at speed, which is dimensional speed, which is instantaneous, and they would disappear from their home planet and appear in the sky above Earth. Now they would have cloaking. I think the actual Stargate electromagnetic field that's generated actually naturally cloaks the ships and the crafts, and it actually provides anti-gravity too as a magnetic field, because of the effect on that craft. And I do believe when they do go across the universe in these crafts, I think some of them are actually their soul is actually, they may not actually have a physical state on that craft, or they may actually just I believe they have other technology where they can have a clone of their original body, and so they, in theory, they could take their soul outside of their body if their body got destroyed, and put it into their same body and just clone it and generate that probably very quickly, and they'd essentially be the same person, because their energy of their soul would just re-enter that physical body. Very similar in how the their bodies go through the Stargate and go into dimensional form, which is essentially like a ghost energy, and instantaneously go across the galaxy, and then the Stargate would reanimate them into a physical form. But anyways, this is kind of my theory. It's been my theory for a while, but it's kind of almost proven by this, because the coordinates are the exact reverse. And you can see the coordinates here, and we will go over. There's the reverse of the coordinates. That's at the Miami International Mall, but because there's no underground Stargate, they were coming in from this direction looking for a Stargate, and they would have stopped at the surface here. And it's exactly, if you look at the angle, between, the distance between, if you look between them, it's Miami International Mall and the Bayside Marketplace. It's almost the perfect angle of the rotation of the Earth. So it would explain they were actually coming in to go down into a Stargate underground, but their dimensional forms stopped at the Bayside Marketplace, and then they were walking around looking to go through a Stargate that didn't exist because they're at the wrong coordinate location, which they did not know. Men in Black explained that to them, or somehow either sent them back. No, there's probably safety mechanisms in place that would, in the event that some anomaly in the transfer happened. It's almost like Star Trek, teleportation. Very similar. It's but it's dimensional travel, essentially. Well, that is it. This is Duke AI, and that is my theory. And I do believe I'm fairly accurate in my theory. It does all kind of make sense. The glitching of these aliens, which it would appear to be glitching because they're not in a physical form. They're in the dimensional form, looking for the Stargate to get into the physical form. Now, there is the other outside theory that they actually never go back to their physical form, and they went to the wrong location, and they would perform whatever duties in Antarctica in collaboration with the world or U.S. governments in their dimensional form, which is kind of like a ghost. But I think they actually come through as a physical form through the reverse side of the Stargate, and then when they go back, the same thing. They go back to their planet, just like walking through a doorway, and it's instantaneous because the speed of the electromagnetic field is infinite. The velocity, because there's zero resistance, and they might be able to control that, but that's my theory, and that is the explanation of how I believe this technology works. And there's different adaptations, whether for craft or anti-gravity. I think it's anti-gravity is always in effect in that field, because that extreme electromagnetic field elevates and suspends all your atoms into a free floating vibrational state, which puts you in another dimension and takes you from the physical state to a dimensional non-physical state, and then reverses that when you go through the other Stargate. So that is it. Duke is out, and that is my theory. Duke, over and out.